Okay, welcome back. Work continues on the 49 F1 rat rod or whatever it's going to be called. Trying to get the drivetrain ready to go in. Previous videos, we have the motor. It's 95% ready. It's almost ready to start if we, had it bolted in or on the run stand. So we're good there. And been working on getting our transmission bell housing, drive shaft, everything figured out. What I've got here is just a world-class T5, nothing special, just stock transmission. I bought this transmission new many years ago, and I run it in another vehicle. Got about 60,000 miles on it, and it's just like new. So wanted to try to use as much stuff that I had laying around the shop on this project. And we got this quick time bell housing from a buddy, and had to do a little work on it. This bell housing is set up for small block Ford to top loader, which we also have some top loader 4-speed stuff here, and I would like to be able to interchange between a top loader and this T5 if I needed to. For instance, if I get out here and get crazy and destroy this T5 and need to get the truck back on the road, and I can put a top loader in it, or if we get to playing a little too much at the drag strip, and top loader obviously is a little stouter than these T5s, although you can still break them, but that would be a good option. And so what I've tried to do, the bell housing is the correct length and bolt pattern for the top loader, and of course this aluminum plate here, you can buy these all day long. They're designed for T5 swaps in Mustangs and so forth, where you're just bolting them up to a stock top loader 3-speed, 4-speed bell housing. And what it does, it centers the transmission, and it adds the almost inch of space that you need, because the T5 input shaft is longer. And it adds that, and it adapts your bolt pattern and everything. It's a pretty neat piece. So got one of those and thought, well, I'll go ahead and adapt it to this bell housing for the T5, and then if I need to do top loader, all I got to do is just unbolt all this and bolt the top loader up. Now, you got to kind of think a little further ahead. You still got an inch difference. So if you just did that, you'd be looking in most cases at, okay, I got to have an inch longer drive shaft. I don't want to do that if that happens. So what we did here, and I apologize, we got the hood sitting in the bed of the truck, but you can see pretty clearly right there. We showed video, last video we showed getting the rear end finished. But what we've done, I don't know, I guess everybody knows this, but on a Ford 9-inch, you can get two different length yokes, and they're an inch difference. So we ordered this rear end had the long yoke on it, and so we ordered a billet short yoke, and so that makes it an inch shorter. So all we have to do, if we take the T5 out, put a top loader or something equivalent in place, then we just swap the yoke on the rear end to the long one. That makes up the inch difference, and we're still using the same drive shaft. That way we're not, spending money unnecessarily, going to get drive shafts made, so forth. The output splines are the same from a small top loader to the T5, so everything will just slip right in. And the yoke's easy to change on this rear gear. It's set up with a crush sleeve eliminator. So all you got to do really is just put your yoke on and torque it back down, torque your pinion nut back down, and you're good to go. You're not going to worry about messing up your setup or your crush. So anyway, that's what we've tried to do here, and we're getting there, but it's been quite a bit of work. Also, I chose to set this one up with a cable clutch. I already had the cable aftermarket pivot point to go on the clutch, whatever that thing's called, eccentric or whatever. And these QuickTime bell housings, they come with the option of having a regular mechanical clutch where the pivot is right here inside the bell housing, or cable clutch, the pivot goes on the other side, it's on a ball, and the bell housings are set up for that. Well, interestingly enough, this one had the threaded part for it, but it was about 3/4 of an inch too far this way. So I ended up having to take the pivot ball out of a stock T5 bell housing and then re-drill the bell housing and put it in, and to get all that geometry right. And of course, it's just smooth as glass now. Also came over here and added another point for the cable. Right here is where the cable comes through. So in order to get it lined up here, I had to add this piece in. No big deal there. So been working all that out. Well, then for some reason or another, when we bolted the transmission up, it was bottoming out in the pilot bushing. So I had to have a custom pilot bushing made. This crankshaft was really deep, so I had plenty of room to go up inside the crankshaft. So I had a custom pilot bushing made that gave me some extra depth, and that worked all that out. And then my next obstacle is starter, and we're kind of having to work with some starter spacing. I've got my machinist making some starter spacers so I can kind of get the starter dialed in where it's working like I want it. So a lot of work, very tedious, but it's going to work out great. We've also indicated this bell housing. I didn't show a video of that because that's the most boring thing on the planet. It's kind of hit and miss, or at least it is for me. But we got it indicated in spec. Transmission falls in. It's lining up great. We also had to shorten the bearing retainer on the transmission a little bit to clear the clutch, make up for that extra depth we had. Again, not a problem. 4 bolts, a little machining. Those bearing retainers are cheap if you needed to put it back the other way. So otherwise, the transmission is stock. We've not had to open it up or do anything. It'll be ready to go. Got the drive shaft mocked up. This is a drive shaft I had that came out of the race car. So it's a nice it's one we had built. 3-inch tube, 1350 yoke or joints. I've got a strange chromoly yoke. Again, that was a leftover from the race car. So nice setup. So I'm trying to set this up where I can use a lot of this. And again, you kind of got to think ahead. So after doing some initial measuring, with that drive shaft length, our motor's going to be in a decent position, but we are going to have to do just a little bit of a firewall recess, which is good. Setting the motor back is just going to make this thing have better weight all around and handle better. So just went ahead. Used to, I would start sticking something in and trim a little and take it out and put it back, trim a little more. And I've just discovered finally in my old age, you're better off just cut a big old hole, put it where it needs to be, and then go back and build your recess, build your tunnel, because you're going to have to do that anyway. You're just wasting time trying to trim and sneak up on it in most cases. So went ahead and cut this out, and we got to make a few pieces to get ready for the mounts, and then we can start sitting this in, and I'm sure it'll have to come in and out quite a few times anyway, but we can start getting it positioned. And we've already got the steering and brakes in place, so we can kind of work around those. Sometimes just a matter of moving the engine a little bit. If you measure a lot of stock cars, the engines are offset a little bit, from the factory to one side just for extra clearance. So it's not a big deal if you need to scoot one a little bit and don't get crazy with it. Anyway, so that's where we're at. I just want to do a quick update on this part of the build, and we'll continue to shoot video as we go.